like to assure the Filipino that kami po dito ay workers of government. Ang trabaho namin, may kanya-kanya kaming trabaho. Huwag niyo kalimutan na ninyo yung mga presidente, mga excellency. Hindi ko kailangan yan. Pati na mga cabinet members. We are just workers of government and we will work for the people. Yan ang tandaan ninyo. Ang tingin ko sa atin ay talagang trabahante ng gobyerno. Kaya trabaho tayo. Kalimutan na ninyo yung mga mahiya kayo. Yung may isang susunod lang dito na ang tao naghintay lang ng direksyon kung paano. But I think it is the mayor who has a disorganized mind. Kaya ganun. Sabi nila sa virtual lang, happy na sila. Bahala na ang Diyos sa akin kung anong mangyari. Kung dadapuan ako ng the Delta 5, wala na. Nandyan man si Lini Robredo ang sa succession. Kahit sa kanya na, pag yan ba ang swerte ko sa pagsasilbi ng tao, mamamatay ako. Hindi mamamatay ako. Lahat naman tayo dito may panahon-panahon sa mundo. Ang importante na ma-satisfy mo ang tao.
Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The Health Department once again emphasized the need to protect one's mental health amid the pandemic. To tell us more about this, Greg Gregorio is joining us live from Mandaluyong. Greg, which sectors are more prone to getting mental health issues again during this time, the pandemic, and why is that?
Yes, Riza, according to the Department of Health and the National Center for Mental Health, sectors that are mostly affected by these mental health problems are those experiencing health reasons, economic reasons, as well as social and cultural reasons. Those experiencing health reasons are example of those experiencing health reasons are healthcare workers who have been on the front line since we have started addressing this COVID-19 pandemic. And those experiencing economic reasons are those employees who have been laid off or lost their jobs or a source of income as an impact of the COVID-19 pandemic to the economy. And for those experiencing social and cultural reasons are those individuals who are experiencing stigma, those with disability, and those who have been feeling those who have been feeling social isolation. Riza?
Greg, what are the examples of this so-called neuropsychiatric symptoms that's felt by patients who have recovered from COVID-19?
Yes, Riza, according to Dr. Agnes Casino, a psychiatrist and a technical consultant of the DOH Mental Health Division, a study in Europe showed that there are patients who have showed neuropsychiatric symptoms even after 6 months of recovery from COVID-19. And as example of these are memory impairment, depression, and anxiety. Dr. Casino explained that patients manifested various symptoms depending on the severity of the COVID-19 infection that they have suffered or recovered from. Riza?
Greg, can you share with us some tips, perhaps, that people can use and do to cope up with the stresses, of course, of this very stressful time?
This was according to Dr. Cancino, an individual who might be experiencing mental health issue may reassess his or herself as to what could be the triggering factors of his or her anxiety or stress, and then develop habit on how to address this, like taking care of plants instead, or doing physical activities that might trigger your body generating endorphins, or what they call the happy hormones. So instead of focusing on the mental health problems that have been affecting your body. But according to Dr. Cancino, one may also reach out to his or her friends who he or she thinks he or she might be comfortable in talking to about his or her experiences and his or her mental health issues. But according to Dr. Cancino, if these non-medical interventions are not enough, they should start asking or seeking professional help. Riza?
Greg, finally, who can the public contact to in case they want to talk to someone about their mental health?
Yes, you said there is a crisis hotline or service or offered by the Department of Health and the National Center for Mental Health to individuals who might be experiencing mental health issues, especially in this during this pandemic. This hotline is 1553, and if I may repeat, this crisis hotline is 1553. Apart from this, there are mobile lines that can be used by individuals depending on their telecommunications provider. These hotlines or these mobile lines can be accessed or can be searched through the social media accounts of the Department of Health and the National Center for Mental Health. But primarily, the crisis hotline would be 1553. Riza?
Thank you. That was Greg Gregorio reporting to us live from Mandaluyong City. With vaccine supplies fluctuating, some countries resort to mixing different brands of COVID-19 shots. Now, how does this affect our immune response? Bloomberg's Nicole C. tells us in this quick take.
Year before liquor, never been sicker. But what about Pfizer before Moderna? Will that do the same? At the start of the pandemic, the plan was always for people to get 2 shots of the same vaccine, or 1 shot if it was a single shot dose. But that's not really how things worked out. Months into the vaccine rollout, a number of countries have injected people with 2 different shots. Why is that? In March, rare blood clots associated with the AstraZeneca vaccine triggered many countries, mostly those in Europe, to pause the vaccine's use. So when people were due for a second shot, they didn't get another Astra jab. This affected a lot of people, from the cafe owner down the street to German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who first got an Astra shot and then a Moderna one. Is that okay? Well, here's what we know. Some vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna use the same type of technology called mRNA. Does that mean it's okay for them to mix and match? Here's what my colleague Todd Gillespie found in his reporting.
Having a Pfizer shot followed by a Moderna shot or vice versa is pretty much the same as having 2 of one of those vaccines, as far as we understand it at the moment. They're both mRNA vaccines, which means that their base level technology is kind of the same. The real potential for side effects, but also outsized immune responses some people are predicting comes from when you mix 2 different types of vaccine technology. So for instance, starting with a J&J shot or an AstraZeneca shot, which are viral vector vaccines, and following them up with an mRNA vaccine like Pfizer or Moderna.
Mixing vaccines that use different designs could activate the immune system in different ways. This is called
heterologous prime boosting.
Here's how the combos stack up. Among combinations tested in the University of Oxford's COM-COV trial, the 2-dose course of the Pfizer vaccine produced the highest level of antibodies which fight the virus directly. People who've had an Astra shot followed by a Pfizer one had the strongest level of T cells, which stimulate antibody production and help destroy virus-infected cells. A small trial in Germany found that mixing Astra and Pfizer vaccines could also trigger neutralizing antibodies at levels almost 4 times higher than 2 Pfizer shots. A Spanish study also found that the same combination made neutralizing antibodies climb 7-fold compared to 2 Astra shots. What hasn't been determined yet is what combination creates the longest and strongest protection against variants. The thing is, there is precedence to vaccine mixing. We've done it in Ebola in Rwanda, and it's been tested in clinical trials for other diseases like HIV and hepatitis. But when it comes to COVID vaccines, there's a lack of those large clinical trials. Here's infectious disease epidemiologist Ben Cowling on what this could mean.
I think there's a lot of potential, but we haven't tested it. So I think it's a missed opportunity because when BioNTech was made, the developers just look at BioNTech plus BioNTech. When Sinovac's made, the developers look at Sinovac plus Sinovac. Nobody's really yet looked at combining them in Hong Kong or in other parts of the world with AstraZeneca, with other vaccines. I think immunologically there could be advantages, but we can't recommend it until it's been tested. Right. So I'm not very keen on the idea in Thailand where they said Sinovac plus AstraZeneca. That hasn't really been tested in clinical trials. So we think it should work, but I think it needs to be tested first.
There's also some evidence that mixing vaccines could cause some worse side effects. According to preliminary data from the Oxford ComCom study, 30 to 40% of those received mixed shots reported fevers after a second dose, compared to 10 to 20% of those who had 2 doses of the same vaccine. However, researchers did say that the fevers didn't last long and they had no other safety concerns. The Spanish study found mild side effects similar to those seen in standard shots. But the US CDC has warned against mixing vaccines, saying the safety and efficacy of a mixed product series have not been evaluated. So, what's the verdict? What we know is that there's one major advantage to mixing vaccines. In countries where vaccines are scarce, knowing people can safely and effectively mix them can help overcome shortages and allow more people to get fully vaxxed. And if researchers can find a super vaccine cocktail combo, it could boost immunity for longer and protect against COVID and its variants more effectively and reliably. That's the hot take. Thanks for watching.
Meanwhile, Cebu City is now investigating alleged illegal exhumation activities in some cemeteries in the area. And funeral parlors and crematoriums in the city are overwhelmed with increased COVID-19 deaths. Gemma Vansenia has the rest of the story.
Illegally exhuming corpse has become a business for some in Cebu City. Maricel Pacanya is furious to find her mother's body gone and replaced with another corpse. The gravestone has also been replaced. The same thing happened to her grandmother's tomb. Maricel says they have a 5-year contract with the cemetery for the tomb of her mother who died in 2018.
Sa kontrata is 5 years.
Ang kontrata is 5 years pa bago i-exhume. Sakali ma-exhume nila, dapat ipapaalam sa mga kaanak. Hindi nila kami sinabihan. Nasyak na lang kami.
One gravedigger told us that some co-workers illegally exhumed bodies so they could sell the tombs to others. Skeletons were also dumped in various corners of the cemetery.
Binubuksan nila. Pag may nagpunta rito magpapalibing, libing agad. Di kasi pwedeng iburol basta COVID-19 patient, PUI at PUM. Binebenta nila yung nicho, yung mga kalansay. Isinisilid sa sako tapos ilalagay lang dyan sa gilid.
The LGU has temporarily closed down the cemetery pending investigation.
Yung health authorities naman natin, pinapa-imbestiga natin, anyway, meron pa naman ibang mga lugar, so that gawa ng mga palisiya at saka yung mga pulis na tutulong doon to investigate also para maputol yan.
Demand for burial space has since gone up as COVID-19 cases and deaths rise. In Cebu, death toll has reached almost 2,500, 40% of which are from Cebu City. Funeral parlors, especially those with crematoriums, are now overwhelmed.
Kahit nga sa sasakyan namin po, ano talaga kami, pati sa mga ilaw, talagang ano kami, yung full operation kami, so alert din kami sa mga ganun. Grabe talaga, ma'am.
Cebu City Emergency Operations Chief Implementer Joel Garganera says the situation is getting worse with more people getting infected. They are now planning to put up a mass grave.
That is something that is also bound to happen. If the mortality that we're experiencing on a daily basis.
As of Sunday, COVID-19 cases in Cebu City have reached 31,930, 3,640 of which are active infections. For News 5, Gemma Vansenia, we are One News.
The NBI says they have already received a formal request to investigate the fake news on vaccinations last week. Speaking with Agenda, NBI Cybercrime Division Chief Victor Lorenzo said they now have leads on the authors of the fake news that led to chaos in several vaccine sites in the metro. However, Lorenzo claimed that the incidents were most likely not politically motivated.
Nakikita namin hindi siya politically motivated kasi walang bearing sa remember sir, iba-ibang jurisdiction yung pinagsasabihan nila na walang ayuda pagka hindi ka vaccinated. Isa sa Quezon City, Makati, Las Piñas. So wala hong pattern eh. So ang tinitingnan namin mga nuisance lang ito sir mga nuisance na sa cyber criminals. Gusto lang nila manginis or para tingnan lang nila kung ano magiging resulta out of curiosity.
Reigning Miss Supernatural Antonia Porcilid threw questions at this year's candidates in a virtual huddle over the weekend, including to our very own delegates, Dindy Pajares. In the second round of questions, Pajares was asked what in her life she thinks should be kept private. The Filipino beauty queen answered that as a public figure, it's important to her to balance her private and public life. She said one should limit what to share on social media about relationships with loved ones and family. In another question, Porcilid asked Pajares what she wants to be remembered as. Pajares replies she wants to be remembered as someone who doesn't give up.
I failed twice getting my dream crown, which is the Miss Supranational crown, but here I am right now. I am representing my country. So I want people to remember me that, yes, I failed, but it doesn't mean that I am a failure. It only means that I haven't succeeded yet. And now I am living my dream. I am representing my country. I am wearing the sash of Miss Philippines.
Now here's a quick look of today's biggest stories. The country finally exits a recession after 5 quarters of contraction. The economy clocked on an 11.8% growth in the second quarter. President Duterte says he's taking away the power to distribute cash aid from a certain LGU, but the Interior Department clarifies they will only oversee LGUs to make sure they meet the deadline. And Miss Universe Philippines 2021 candidates show off their runway skills in their latest challenge. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later again at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.